Alright then guys, welcome to the video, welcome back to the channel, and today I thought I would do a Q&A video because I realised a lot of things have been going on, obviously 10,000 subscribers, exciting, and I just thought I would try and get your questions together from Instagram and on YouTube comments so we can get some sort of idea of what's going on moving forward and all that kind of stuff. So I've got a list of all the questions that you've asked me, there's nothing really left to it, let's just get into the questions and I'll just start going through one by one and answering all the things you've asked me about this car, the other cars, all that kind of stuff. So have I ever owned an EG? I haven't actually. It would be pretty cool, but I think I would have to do some sort of K-swap or something with it. That may happen at some point in the future if a good deal on one comes up at some point, I don't know. But I don't have any plans to because I've obviously got two Civics and an S2000 now. So MPG lol. I assume you're referring to this Civic, and actually it's surprisingly all right considering obviously it's got the drop-in cams and everything. I haven't done a full test, I do need to do it still. On mainly motorway driving, it's done 37 miles to the gallon, which I think is pretty much like it is standard, maybe even slightly better because of how smooth it runs now, which is amazing. Like, you get all this performance but still get decent-ish MPG, which is one of the reasons why I got this car, because it's quite a good balance. So it's actually not too bad. So if you could swap the entire fleet for one car, what are you picking and why? So this is a really tough question because obviously, well, I mean, technically, I guess the new track car, I don't really count that because I don't need that. Whereas for me, this is such a great daily and the S2000 is so great at everything else that I love about that car is having the roof down and everything. So to replace all of them is really hard, but I guess it would probably have to be, I'm gonna be so generic here, it's probably gonna have to be the new Civic Type R because it ticks all the boxes that I already have apart from not being able to, you can't put the roof down. It's either that or something else like an RS6 Avant or something, so it's really practical still, but still fun to drive, but that's probably not as fun as the Civic, so I'd probably go for the FL5 Civic Type R. Will the red EP3 get a turbo? Now I did mention this in that reveal video that it is a possibility and I'm not ruling it out. I knew I would never turbo this car, but it doesn't really matter for that red car, so I may end up doing it. It's not in the immediate plans because I just want to enjoy that and have that as a reliable track car to start with. I don't need more power from it yet because I haven't hit the limit of that car on a track yet anyway. I'm not ruling it out though, it is something that could happen. It may be even supercharged, I don't know, I haven't fully decided, but I'm not saying no, but it's also not on the immediate cards. What cars did I own before I bought this EP3? And it's actually incredibly boring, but I suppose it's kind of cool. So I started with JDM in the heart. I had I think it's a K11 Micro. I never looked into it too much. I didn't do any mods to that apart from a head unit. After that, I had an Astra G, and that car I did basically straight pipe the exhaust from the catback. It was stupidly loud. Did some wheels on that and a head unit again. That was it for that. And then I ended up buying this. So I only had both of those cars for, I think I had them for a year each. And then I bought this thing. So nothing terribly exciting, but it led me to this, so it's all good. What mods does the red EP3 have? So I did actually mention this in the reveal video, so if you haven't seen that, go check that out. But basically, quick summarize, it's got brand new LSD, I believe it's M Factory, brand new stage 4 clutch, I think it's a comp clutch, brand new Tegwa 41 manifold, I think it's an M2 system, like spoon style. I think it's full catback, I don't know totally for sure, because I haven't actually even really looked at it, apart from that video, that's all I've really looked at in detail at the car. It's got a map on it from Remain, running about 216 brake horsepower. Got RBC inlet manifold, 70mm throttle body, and it's got an induction kit. I think that's it. There's no sort of suspension stuff as I'm aware, no brakes. There's definitely brake fluid. Whether the brake pads have been done, I'm not sure. I think that is it though. The good stuff that's been done is great and it's like been done really well, high quality parts used as well. So that means not spending loads of money, but it hasn't had like loads of stuff done where it means that there's nothing for me to do for future videos. So what plans have I got for the red EP3? To make it track ready, I want to do a baffled sump and I need to get some brake pads. Oh, and obviously some good track day tires. I'm probably going to end up doing the NS2Rs, which is what I've got on the S2000. Beyond that, to start with, I guess a seat will be good in the future. I think to start with though, that's going to be it for at least track day number 1, because then that's a great base at which we can build on beyond that. But I mean, there's obviously going to be a seat coming at some point. We'll probably end up stripping it out. A cage may happen in the future, and then obviously suspension related things as well, being able to get geometry and that kind of stuff will be nice. But I think to start with, it's going to stay pretty basic, so we have a good base to build on, and it'll be cool then that way because we can start with like some times and we can then go back to the same track and see if the times improve. So it'll be probably quite slow or also because trying to fund 3 cars now is obviously not too economical, especially when I'm not earning that much money from YouTube. So we'll see. It's going to be a slow process, but I think that's at least a good place to start. So this one isn't totally a question, but it is, I would like to see a video of comparisons between, well, I guess this car and the red car is what you're referring to. So that I think would be pretty cool. It would be interesting because that red EP3 is running the power that this thing used to make before the cams and the new map. So I think that would be interesting. I think what would also be interesting is a standard EP3 versus the red EP3 versus this EP3. The downside for me is just trying to figure out logistically how to film something with 2 cars where there's some sort of race going on, and trying to film that is all coming together. To do that is really difficult unless I can find some sort of runway or something. I would like to do it. Whether it ends up happening or not, I don't know, unless I can figure out some way of getting all the cars in one place and being able to film them at the same time. Any videos coming for the S2000? The short answer is yes. I have something very cool coming that I'm hoping is going to work. At this point that I'm recording this, I don't know if it's for sure going to work out for me. It's going to be incredibly expensive if it does. The downside, I suppose, to what I want to do with the S2000 from a content point of view is that all the stuff I want is from Japan. So there's all the wait times, and obviously everything is way more expensive than it is for this car. Yes, things are coming. I do have some cool plans. The timeline is tough because most of it's coming from Japan. Not that I've ordered anything just yet. But you'll see. There is definitely plans. That is still the JDM dream build. So hopefully there will be an S2000 video coming really soon. Maybe after this one if all goes to plan. Would you ever air ride either car? Weirdly enough, so I think most cars look really good on bags, but for some reason I don't think the EP3 looks great fully slammed. I see the argument for the S2000 looking slammed, but for me they're both just such drivers cars that for me personally I couldn't do it to either of these. If I end up doing some different build in the future where it's maybe like a German car or something, I don't know what the future holds, then it would be something I'd think about, but it is super expensive as well, so I don't know for sure. What is my dream wheel apart from the RPF ones that are obviously on this car right now? I did mention in one video before, ages ago, what wheels I want. The absolute top of my list I think has to be the Rays C28Ns. If you've watched any of the videos where I go around looking at cars at car shows, I always say it's the best wheel for a Honda. They look incredible and I would absolutely love a set. I just can't afford it right now. They're so expensive, but for me that is the best wheel for a Honda, and one day maybe either on this or the S2000, but for now I'm going to stick with the Enkis because I just love how they look. Does the EP3 flame on launch control? And the answer is no, not anymore. I think it did on the previous exhaust setup and map. I could be wrong though. I used to have D-cell pops and bangs, but now this thing, there's no flames at any point. It does get some sort of small like burble backfires and what have you when you come off partial throttle higher up in the RPMs, but that's it. There is no flames anymore. I don't mind actually, because long term it's just going to be way healthier for not only the engine but the longevity of this exhaust, because I don't really want to be replacing any baffles in this thing just for the sake of flames. Would you ever change the EP3 seats? And the short answer is no. I absolutely love these things. The fact that they're out of the previous generation Type Rs is just a cool nod to the heritage of this car, but also they are so comfortable. So there is no real need for me to ever change them, and the fact that these things have pretty much tripled in price since that I bought them. There is no other seat I'm interested in for this car. These are the perfect thing for the build idea I had for this thing being a daily driver. JDM wind deflectors, am I actually going to pull the trigger? To be honest, these aren't worth it for me. These Climb Air wind deflectors are incredibly good and way cheaper, and the JDM ones, although they look cool, it's not something I'm too interested in just because they do the same purpose as these, and these are fine. If they pop up at the right price, maybe, but it's not something that's on my list. Would I consider selling my intake and inlet setup to get ITBs? As cool as it would be, realistically, it's so much more money for just a bit more noise and maybe a bit better throttle response. For the daily, I don't think it's worth it. Who knows, maybe the track car, that could be kind of cool. Again, it's so much money that I just don't know if I can justify it, especially when I've already spent so much money on this setup. So it would be cool. Unless there's a company out there that wants to sponsor it, I can't see it happening, to be honest. So are there any body kits that I would do for the EP3? And there isn't really that many body kits out there. I know there's obviously the Fiberworks, the wide arch kit that they do. and there's probably a couple more that I'm just forgetting off the top of my head. But realistically, if I had to fully change like bumpers and stuff, I'd probably do the Buddy Club front bumper, Buddy Club rear bumper's pretty cool. But in terms of anything crazier, I don't know, I quite like, at least for this build, the understated, if you know, you know, OEM plus kind of vibe I've gone for this. So I'm actually really happy with how this looks. The J's Racing wider front wings, those would be quite cool. Realistically, I would have done it if I wanted it enough. Nothing that really blows my mind for this car. Anyway, the S2000, that's a different story. I'm really getting more and more questions about this and obviously the tint down here as well, because I think the car's got to the point where it's looking how I want it to. Realistically, this thing is something I haven't really noticed. Obviously this will get sorted. I mean, it is all gonna get sorted at some point. That is so far down my list of things that I care about that it really doesn't bother me right now. So it will get done, these will get done, and well, there's no way I can do it. As you can see, terrible. I don't know when, because there's way cooler stuff that I want to do. So I'm not actually with the S2000, so I can't answer this while stood in front of the S2000. I did allude to some plans on my first walk around of the car, so quite a few of those plans do still remain. Replacing body parts is happening. Front bumper's going to change, rear bumper's going to change. I do want a big wing. I'm probably going to go for the J's Racing wing. There's a Vtec one I like too. New bonnet. I'm going to do interior stuff like carbon interior, like the J's Racing carbon interior panel. I think that's going to look amazing. I do want to get the Vtec carbon rear diffuser, that kind of stuff. And that's all I'm going to share for now, because that's such a long ongoing process, again with stuff being ordered from Japan, that my plans may change based on something else I find, because there's still parts I'm finding for this car that it's just so cool. It's one of the reasons why I got this car. So yeah, we'll see, but that's sort of a small rough idea. Are we doing Japfest again next year? And the short answer is absolutely. That was such a big success this year. I just can't believe how many cars were on the stand, and that was with everything selling out so quick. So I think people are going to be more on it for next year. The plan is for me, I mean, if you've seen, I've been doing some more local meets and things like that as well that have been aside from car shows. But yeah, the plan is to do more car shows. I want to do some sort of meet up and drives, that kind of thing moving forward as well. But Japfest for me is the show every year that I must go to. So I will almost always do a stand there. This is me claiming I'm going to do this every year now, but that is definitely the plan. I do want to do a stand at Japfest every year moving forward if it is possible for me to do so. If you are interested in being on the stand, I don't have any sort of limits of what cars can go on the stand. If you want to be on the stand, follow me on Instagram and I'll be posting it on there. But yeah, definitely Japfest is happening as much as possible. So if I had to sell all of my cars bar one, which one would I keep? That is very difficult. Realistically, the Track EP3, that red car would go straight away. So it's between whether I'd sell this or the S2000. And my practical mind is saying I'd sell the S2000 and keep this, because this still gives me the joy and fun, but still the practicality, which is why I even have this car in the first place. But the S2000 is the childhood dream car, so that is such a brutal decision to make. Would you buy an FL5? And to be honest, yeah, if I had the money, if I had the money, I probably would, to be honest. It is a great car. I love the interior. I love the more subtle looks, sort of looks like the EP3 in terms of being like, if you know, you know sort of thing. It's tough because I've never really had new cars on my mind as something to buy, but if I had to buy a new car nowadays, it is between the FL5 and maybe the GR Yaris. So yeah, I probably would. It's hard to say for sure, but yeah, I probably would buy one if I had the money. Where do you see the channel in 5 years? That is a very, very good question, because realistically, like, I didn't really plan for this to become anything, and I suppose it still is such early days. It isn't really something, even though 10,000 subscribers is a lot. It would be great if I can make this into something where I can fund the stuff I want to do to cars by you guys watching the videos and all that kind of stuff. So it'd be nice to see this channel at a size where it's self-sufficient. But beyond that, I don't really know. I'm just taking it as it comes, really, and just I'm making the content I want to make, and if it works out, it works out. I haven't really got some sort of plan for this, to be honest. Let's say best case scenario, I'm at like 500,000 subscribers. I don't know, this sounds so unrealistic at this point, but I've gained some cool cars I want to buy, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I still have cars on my list to buy. I don't know, it's just something I've not really thought about, so it's quite hard to, I'm just sort of just trying to think of things off the top of my head on the spot, really. So what shows / tracks do I plan to take the red EP3 to? Shows wise, not really something I'm too worried about, actually. I think it's just going to be one of those track day toys. This is more the car that I'll take to shows, this and the S2000. Track days, well, it's going to start off keeping it kind of simple and potentially local. I want to do like the Bedford track days. I think those are going to be quite a good one for the car, at least to start with. Maybe some Thrucks and stuff. Brands Hatch will be cool. To be honest, I haven't really looked into it too much just because I can't really afford to do it right now. We'll see what happens in the future, basically. What 3 JDM Legend cars would I own and why? And thank you very much for the thank yous. This is tough because there's so many cars that I do want to own, so I'm just going to go off the list that I do want to own. I do really want an S15 Silvia, that would be really cool. If we're talking dream, I'd love an R34 GTR. R32 GTR is not far behind that, so I would potentially take either of those. NSX would be really cool because then I'd have like the Type R, the S2000 and the NSX, that would be amazing. I suppose a Supra would be quite cool. I'm not too worried about the rotary life, so I'm not too worried about an RX-7. I think I go for those, and so the S15 I think looks amazing. It's just got this really timeless design. The body kits you can get for those are really cool. R34, absolute legend, and again, parts are cool for that. You can make them look cool, sound cool, everyone loves them. Same with the R32. NSX, because it would be cool to have all 3 and sort of complete the Honda Trinity. That would be my 3, I would say, yeah. What video did I like making the most? This is really difficult because I think there's various things for various different reasons. So for example, the Magfest video you're relating to, any of those sort of travel vlog stuff where I'm in America or whatever, being with my best mate in a different country, those are just cool because I get to make those memories and watch them back. And then the best video, in my opinion, that I've ever made is my Thailand video. If you've seen that, that's from 2020. So that video, just because of how creative that was. So that's probably my #1 favorite video I've ever made. And then car related stuff, it's kind of hard actually. I think the whole process of this car and the journey is the bit I like the most. There isn't one specific video that I can think of that I liked making the most. It's kind of a cop-out answer for that one, so apologies, but I think that's the best way I can answer that one. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. How do I stay motivated when making YouTube videos? I don't know, I just like making videos, so I think just trying to set myself the challenge of posting 1 video a week, because that is all that I have time to be able to do at the moment, is, I don't know, it's just one of those things I'm just trying to prove to myself that I can do it. Obviously, as this car ends up finishing, it's quite hard to think of content, especially if I'm super busy with work. I think the motivation is just trying to stay consistent and trying to just come up with videos that people will watch. Well, actually, even if they don't watch them, it's just trying to come up with a video every week and seeing how that affects the algorithm, because the more regular you post, the more YouTube pushes the video. So I'm trying to stay consistent so I don't fall off a cliff. How does the car ride on coilovers? And I actually, up until I did that video where I drove my mate Tom's EP3, I thought this thing was actually really harsh riding. But compared to the standard suspension, actually, this isn't too different. It's obviously, you're going to notice a difference, but it wasn't as noticeable as I thought it would be. So I would recommend it just because you gain the flexibility of obviously ride height and then the opportunity, if you buy something like these yellow speeds, to be able to adjust various other things as well, like the dampening and what have you. I think the flexibility is worth it because the ride quality change wasn't as noticeable and as crashy as I thought it would be. I guess that also then depends on the quality of the suspension that you are buying. So speaking of Tom, he's just asked who is a better driver, and I'm going to say me just because, but realistically Tom is probably a better driver because Tom has actually spent time on track. So Tom, I will give this one to you, but I'm coming for you with the red EP3, and I guess we'll have to see what happens on the track moving forward. So comparing the EP3 on track, comparing that to a standard one, I don't know if this is realistic because I wouldn't want to take a stock one on track because of the baffled sump situation. I know it probably would be all right and you could just overfill with oil a little bit and that kind of stuff, but I just wouldn't want to take the risk. I think what's going to be interesting is with the red EP3, because it is suspension wise stock, that's going to be interesting to see how suspension differences will make a difference on that car. Unless someone has a standard EP3 that's got a baffled sump and is willing to bring it to a track, I mean, the logistics behind trying to make that work are so hard. So yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think that's what's so interesting about this red car, is that because it is so standard suspension wise, I think moving forward we should hopefully see some sort of gain in that department. So this one's come from Dave at Tegua, and this is a tough one. So EP3, S2K, EK9, very tough. If I had all 3, I'd be very happy. So of those 3, which would I get rid of? I'm going to caveat this and make it easier for myself. We're not talking about this EP3, we're just talking about EP3s in general. I would sell the EP3, but I'd track the S2000 and keep the EK9. Yeah, I think that's what I would do. So explain wheel offset, what the wheel offset for an EP3 is, and whether any other manufacturers make wheels that fit. So I believe offset is the amount that the wheel sticks in or out from the car, and the ideal spec for the EP3 is an ET of 35. So these are not that. These are an ET of 45. So the spec of these is 17x8, an ET of 45. So I've got to run 5mm spaces, mainly to clear the Brembo brakes in the front, and then I've got 3mm spaces in the rear to clear the rear trailing arm. Now, if you were to run an ET35, that is the perfect spec, and you can buy Enkei RPF ones brand new in that size. So I would fully recommend trying to get any wheel in that spec. So 17x8 ET35 is perfect for an EP3, and there is one reason why you see so many EP3s with the Evo Enkeis on them, and that is because they are that exact spec. Hopefully that's useful. Got some very good suspension, got some nice tires. What do you do next? I would say, if you can, I would try and get those set up with a fast road setup. So maybe you're gonna need some rear camber arms, and I'm assuming the KW V2s come with adjustable top mounts. I'm not totally sure, but I would definitely recommend getting a fast road setup. One of the best things I've done to this car, absolutely amazing. I would probably do, if you haven't got an exhaust or an intake, I would definitely do both of those, because that just wakes the car up, makes it sound way better, and it makes it more of an enjoyable thing to drive. So, do I see myself getting a drift car in the future? It would be sick. I'd probably end up getting something like a BMW or something, just something that's easy, cheap, and just doesn't really matter. I don't want to drift the S2000 because I love that car and I don't want to crash it. Yeah, it would be something I would like to get into. It's whether I can, again, afford it if YouTube starts working for me and that kind of stuff. It might be something I look into in the future. It's just the cost of tires and things like that gets quite expensive. So it would be something I'd like to look into in the future if I can make it work. What do I do for work? And well, as you can see, stood in front of another camera, and basically, yeah, I'm a freelance camera operator slash freelance videographer. So I either shoot for other people or shoot content for companies, basically making videos for them or events, or there's just so many different things I actually do. As you can see, I'm in a marquee right now doing some event, but do various corporate things, showcase videos, promotional videos, that kind of stuff. And this is why it seemed crazy for me not to make YouTube videos, because I know how to make videos already. As I'm already on location, just thought it was cool to show you in person what kind of stuff I do. But this is also why I haven't been smashing out car content, because I've actually been so busy recently with work that I've been away and everything. But yeah, so there we go. This is what I do. And so that is all the questions that you guys had for me on social media. And yeah, so if you're wanting to, I guess, know more and all that kind of stuff, follow me on Instagram. That seems to be where I'm posting the stuff if I'm not posting stuff on YouTube. Sorry that the car is so filthy. I've been so busy with work that I haven't actually been able to wash this thing. But hopefully you've enjoyed this one, guys. Hopefully this has been some sort of useful insight for you about things that are happening. I'll catch you guys in the next video, which I'm hoping, at the time I'm recording this, I'm hoping is an S2000 video, but we'll see. But either way, I'm gonna shoot off and I'll see you guys in the next one.